And happening right now, clean water advocates are pushing lawmakers to act on a bill that would require schools to test the tap for lead contamination. This after lead was recently found in drinking water in several New York school districts, including in Amsterdam. Capitol reporter Kimberly Howard is live at the Capitol right now. And Kimberly, with less than a day left of the regularly scheduled session, time is running out.
Yeah, that's right, Ann. But advocates are making this last-minute push to make sure that this bill passes both houses because they say it's a public health concern for children. Now, this is how this bill would work, how this law would work should it be voted into law. It would unlock state funding so public school districts would be able to test for lead. Now, we're told this could cost about $5,000 per building, roughly $15 to $25 million for the whole state. About 3,000 buildings would be tested in all. Advocates most concerned with schools constructed prior to 1986.
We know that primary prevention, taking deliberate measures to prevent exposure to lead even before it occurs, is the only truly effective way to protect children from lead poisoning. This issue is preventable. We can keep our children safe, but the legislature needs to act now.
Now, private schools, charter schools, and daycare centers would not be included in this, but should this legislation be successful, that would be the goal for advocates to then push on and try to get those schools to test for lead as well. Now, this is just one of several bills that we're watching very closely today, as this is the last day, as you mentioned, of the 2016 legislative session. We'll have much more for you, an update coming up starting at 5. But for now, we're live at the Capitol. Kimberly Howard.
Lawmakers are working right now on a laundry list of bills still in limbo at this hour. And tonight, we're tracking the developments with team coverage. Emily DeFisciani is outside the Senate chamber, and Kimberly Howard is outside of the Assembly where we begin tonight. Kimberly, we're still waiting on legislation combating heroin. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, Ann. And actually, just in the last hour, the Senate passed 3 of those key bills related to the heroin epidemic, laws that would help educate people on addiction and prevent addiction in the first place. Now the attention in terms of the heroin bills turns to the Assembly here, which still has a pile of proposed laws on their desks.
The bill is passed.
Hundreds of bills before the state legislature, among the most anticipated, tackling the heroin epidemic.
We have more comprehensive insurance coverage for those struggling with addiction. We have education efforts.
The package of bills to be debated also includes limiting opioid prescriptions from 30 days to 7 days. As a pharmacist, Assemblyman John McDonald has been a big advocate of passing this one.
It makes perfect sense. 75% of every heroin addict started with short-acting opioids, and the unwarranted and unnecessary overprescribing of opioids needs to be addressed.
Not included in the package, Lurie's Law, which would stiffen penalties against drug dealers if there's an overdose death.
Particularly because of the downstate and urban makeup of the Assembly has a very difficult time in increasing incarceration periods. However, I've been very supportive of that bill.
So is Senator George Amador, who says the fight on that one isn't over.
Because it's their responsibility. They're the ones that contributed to that death.
Now, another major issue, of course, this session is ethics reform. We are expecting movement on a bill that would strip pensions from public officials convicted of a felony. People are also looking to the Assembly for the passage of that one. We'll have much more on that proposed law, as well as several other ethics reforms that are making their way through both chambers. But I want to throw it over to...
And we're following developing news right now. We're in the final stretch of the legislative session for the year.
At least we think we are. A number of bills are waiting to be voted on, and some are still in the works. Our own Kimberly Howard has been in Albany all day long. Kimberly, I wish I was there with you. What do you see as the top priorities right now?
Hi, Greg. Hi, Ann. Yeah, there are several on the list. If you take a look behind me here inside the chamber, lawmakers are busy. They tell me they have hundreds of bills to get through. One lawmaker telling me they typically tackle more than a third of the issues in just the last few days. Now, one issue in particular that's on a lot of people's minds, ethics, especially after the near simultaneous convictions of former Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver and former Senate Majority Leader Dean Skelos, both convicted on public corruption charges. Now, both men will be collecting nearly $200,000 a year in your money for their pensions. But a bill that's making its way through both chambers would prevent future public officials from being able to do that.
But if you think that's going to make people more ethical in government, it's not going to work.
What would be enough?
Term limits for leaders is one thing that doesn't even get talked about on the floor, doesn't even get to a vote.
Now, there's also some bills making headway right now in both chambers that would crack down on so-called dark money when it comes to campaign contributions. But again, many lawmakers telling me tonight that those measures do not go far enough.
All right, Kimberly, I was talking to some insiders today who said they will not be there tomorrow when the sun is shining. They're going to stay up all night. Are you hearing the same thing? They'll stay as long as they have to tonight. They want to be out of here tomorrow?
You know, it's almost anybody's guess. It's similar to when you cover a court case and people are trying to predict, you know, the jury behind closed doors and they're talking about a verdict. I am hearing some people saying that, you know what, we're going to get through it. We know that the Senate made a lot of headway on those heroin bills just in the last few hours. So a lot of headway there. But again, ethics still up in the air in this chamber, as well as the heroin legislation. So depending on how long these bills are debated on the floor, we could be going to the wee hours of the morning. We could be going tomorrow. But we sure will keep an eye on all of it for you guys and keep you updated. For now, we're live at the Capitol. Kimberly Howard, CBS 6 News.
Sounds good. Thank you. So our developing story is from the state capitol tonight. Lawmakers working tonight. They could be working right through the night. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow as well. A lot of bills that still need to be dealt with. We've got two reporters down there covering it all for you. We've got Emily DeFisciani, who is live outside the Senate chamber, and Kimberly Howard. She is also live there at the State Assembly. Kimberly, going to start with you in the ever elusive ethics reform. What are you hearing about that tonight?
Yeah, well, Greg, it seems every year the legislature passes some sort of ethics reform, but then every year more politicians get arrested. Many people thought this year would be different with two unprecedented convictions. But tonight, I'm hearing disappointment from lawmakers who say that the reforms that are poised to pass don't go far enough.
The bill is passed.
Hundreds of bills before the state legislature, among the most anticipated, ethics reform.
What has rocked the Capitol are unprecedented scandals.
The convictions of two of the state's most powerful politicians. But good government groups say the changes that are poised to pass as the session wraps up don't address the problem.
At the heart of both scandals was a limited liability company.
But the Assembly and Senate can't agree on a bill that would limit how much a limited liability company can give to a political campaign.
I'm all for closing that loophole, as long as it includes closing the loophole for unions as well.
What lawmakers are starting to agree on is a bill that would strip pensions from public officials convicted of a felony. The law would actually apply to all state workers, but only if the felony is related to their work and only if a judge finds taking their pension a sound punishment.
This is a tool in the judge's toolbox. So eventually, when a case gets in front of a judge, the judge is going to apply some of his discretion or her discretion.
Now, tackling the heroin epidemic is a huge issue here at the Capitol as well. We know that it has made some headway. Several bills, 3 bills in particular, that just passed the Senate within the last 2 hours. Again, the attention is now turned on to the Assembly. We'll keep you posted on that one and everything that we're watching here at the Capitol, both on air and online. For now, though, we're live at the Capitol. Kimberly Howard, CBS 6 News.